Hello again, everyone, and thanks so much for joining us for this Friday's edition of Alaska Weather. I'm Dave Percy, a meteorologist with the National Weather Service, and I'll be hosting today's show. First, no warnings, watches, or advisories out for any of this part of the state here, at least through tomorrow. So we'll just jump into the satellite imagery, and you can see counterclockwise circulation to the clouds here. Low pressure actually a little south of the Gulf of Alaska, and to the north here, a lot of sunshine this afternoon. Cook Inlet, Kenai Peninsula, looks like Prince William Sound in across just about all southern Alaska on out until you get out to the coast here, and then you start picking up some clouds there from the Bering Sea. But the main storminess still back to the west here, associated with that front pushing eastward into the Aleutians. Otherwise, we've got a band with a weak disturbance coming southward here in northerly flow aloft. That's bringing some cloudy skies with scattered areas of snow, mostly over the eastern interior here on down to the Alaska Range, but no heavy amounts at all. And then this system bringing, or to the south of the Panhandle, low pressure right in this area here, and then that's circulating clouds and rain into especially the southern Panhandle today. That's gradually spreading northward. Showers developing up over the northern areas may actually develop into kind of a steady light rain or rain and snow mix, depending on your elevation here later on today and this evening and overnight tonight. Otherwise, again, not much going on. A lot better conditions on the eastern Arctic coast than they were yesterday with the blizzard conditions. Colder, a little colder, temperatures below zero up there today, winds much lighter, so breezy out of the west though. And out to the west there, we've got that strong low pressure area, fairly strong, active, pushing gale force winds here as it moves up to the northeast, warm front type rain, fog, and drizzle. Moving into the central Aleutians, gradually spreading over toward the eastern Aleutians today. Still some isolated showers, but really nothing significant there for the Alaska Peninsula. Basically weak area high pressure out ahead of that storm pulling in, and all the clear skies, dry conditions here over the southern part of the state, and then north of the mountains there you pick up the clouds and snow showers. It'll look like a few isolated rain or snow showers developing here down toward the coast range of the eastern North Gulf Coast areas, and also a few flurries here with another disturbance that's actually a little bit back to the west there. There are a few flurries from actually west of Barrow on down toward Point Lay, and then portions of the North Slope. But again, those amounts also light, and another very weak thing out here off the southwest coast, bringing some light snow to mostly St. Lawrence Island. Pretty isolated here along the southwest coast. And that's going to continue to slide off to the east and southeast. You can see that whole thing jogs off to the east there. And then maybe some light rain or snow showers to the Aleutian Range. Otherwise, nothing significant going on. Same pattern here, several weak disturbances coming southward, and gradually colder air filtering in behind each one of these. And looking for light snowfall amounts will be kind of hit and miss, but the upslope areas of the terrain on the north sides probably see the best chance of continuous light snow and any accumulation. And that will continue to gradually push southward. And looks like for later tonight, some scattered rain and snow showers now improving over the southeast coast here. Bulk of the moisture shifting off to the south or off to the east. So that'll look for a decrease in the snow showers, especially toward morning. Low pressure still well off the coast down to the south. No change over southern Alaska, variably cloudy. And may see a little bit of an increase in the snow shower activity here over the eastern Copper River Basin, especially up toward Nebezna, maybe North Wyandotte. Out to the west, here comes that next frontal system with gale force winds. Warmer temperatures and rain here spreading into across the Fox Islands once again, up to the Pribilofs late tonight. Weak high pressure along the southwest coast for dry, partly to mostly cloudy skies, light winds. Just a northwest breeze here, although you could see some small craft advisories for Kachemak Bay and the Barren Islands, and that's about it for that area. Maybe a risk of a snow shower, Shelikof Strait, possibly the west and northwest side of Kodiak Island, but again, whatever does fall won't be very significant at all. And then for, let's see, tomorrow, Saturday, this front pushes eastward here. And again, the southerly flow, warmer temperatures, so rain and snow changing to rain, even for Nunivak Island there, and just not quite reaching St. Lawrence Island through the day tomorrow here, but barely getting onto the coast. but definitely an increase in the south and southeast winds here over the eastern Bering and northern areas. And back to the west, much tighter gradient with that low center that's pulling northward out there to the west, but that's going to swing a pretty good trough right into the western Aleutians. Gusty winds, numerous showers there, gradually falling snowfall levels as well. Meanwhile, the Panhandle, just mostly cloudy, partly to mostly cloudy, maybe some area, maybe a few sun breaks around, but isolated showers mostly down to the south, possible rain or snow showers to the north, nothing really significant again. And same pattern here along the eastern border areas. Some of this clouds and snow shower activity probably will progress westward into the Denali area, but probably doubt it will make it into the northern Kuskokwim Valley, and then down into the coast range, chance of snow showers all the way down. And that risk extends also all the way back to the north to the eastern Arctic coast, even with that 1,032 millibar high building into the area there. So mostly sunny skies here, central western interior. And then looking ahead to the Sunday forecast, a lot less in the way of snow shower activity here, but colder air in place now over the eastern interior areas down in the Copper River Basin, but that means mostly sunny skies, so temperatures will be soaring in the afternoon with the April sunshine. And then we've got some scattered snow showers that mostly off into Canada, north of the passes. So right now, at this point in time, mostly dry day, at least in part for the Panhandle there. Anything that might develop into a shower will be very light and isolated. So look for a partly sunny day on the day Sunday there for the southeast coast. Front weakening as it pushes eastward. Main low center again pushing up to the Russian Far East. So rain and snow here, Yukon Delta up to and across St. Lawrence Island and the Seward Peninsula with mostly rain, but you can see not too bad on the winds here. A lot less gradient than it originally had here as this front pushes in toward Bristol Bay and the Alaska Peninsula. Increasing chance of rain, west side Kodiak Island late in the day. Showers beginning to develop here that'll may carry northward to the Kenai Peninsula Sunday evening. That's about probably the biggest change that'll show up in this area through the weekend. And then back out to the west, still a couple of strong troughs rotating around, kind of a new low center developing there south of the main center, farther to the north, and that looks like it'll kick the winds back up, probably to gale force with numerous rain and snow showers. Low temperatures forecast for Saturday morning, looking below zero, Brooks Range, North Slope, Arctic coast, anywhere from 5 to maybe 12 below. Otherwise, we've got lower teens there through the central interior, rapidly warming to the mid-20s to upper 20s as you head southwest. Upper 20s to mid-30s, south central Alaska, a little chillier in the Copper River Basin, and lows right around 40 for Adak and Atka. In the Panhandle, 30s. For highs tomorrow afternoon, 50s for the southeast coast, mostly lower to mid. Same thing for the Sitna Valley. Could see some mid-50s to 56, 7 degrees possibly. And then 40s back here to the southwest in toward Bristol Bay, where king salmon will approach 50 degrees. Single numbers up on the Arctic coast. And near 40 for the Pribilofs, lower 40s for the Aleutians, pretty typical for this time of year. And then for the lows on Sunday morning with milder flow here, again, lower 40s, upper 30s, lower 40s, Alaska Peninsula, and the Fox Islands with below zero once again for Sunday morning here, of course, for the Arctic coast, on down toward Arctic Village. Either side of zero down the eastern interior, depending on the clearing you see, and looks like 5 to 15 here for the Copper River Basin, and mid-20s to mid-20s to lower 30s, south central Alaska. Milder out here to the west and southwest, right around freezing to a little above along the coast. Lower to mid-30s Aleutians, and for the Panhandle, looks like not too bad on the lows there, all in the 30s. Highs for Sunday afternoon, back into the 50s, not much change there for the Panhandle, as well as southern Alaska here, 40s to lower 50s. Some areas might get a little warmer, mid-20s now for the Brooks Range and into the lower teens for the Arctic coast, with temperatures out west, looks like mid-40s here, rebounding into the Copper River or the Yukon Delta.
And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
Moving on to the aviation forecast, we've got several areas, IFR, an area here over the, along the central eastern Alaska range tomorrow morning, portions of 40-mile country, North Slope, eastern Arctic coast, another batch here right along the southwest coast, actually pushing well inland, actually all the way into the Kuskokwim Valley here, back down into Bristol Bay, up across St. Lawrence Island, and the biggest area just to the west and southwest of that, out over the Bering Sea. You can see from AKwx all the way over to Unalaska, just about False Pass, over the Pribilofs to that big storm, the center holding back to the west. Tomorrow afternoon, we've got, again, now this pushes up to the coastline. The original one obviously fades away, or retreats back if you want to look at it that way. But anyway, for tomorrow afternoon, IFR more along the coast, definitely Nunivak Island. Pribilof still in the thick of it, as well as the eastern Aleutians. And AKwx just getting on the back edge there. Alaska Peninsula increasing IFR. Better over the interior, got a swath of marginal VFR from the Yukon Delta right up along, probably across Denali into the 40-mile country there from near or south of Eagle, down across the Copper River Basin. Some of this trying to expand westward in toward the Matanuska Valley, but won't quite make it. Kodiak Island, Kenai Peninsula, Cook Inlet, VFR Northern Panhandle, otherwise marginal. Prince of Wales Island looks mostly VFR. For Sunday morning, marginal VFR here for much of the southeast coast, except northern Lynn Canal, maybe Glacier Bay. Marginal VFR, Yakutat area to Cordova. VFR holds here, Kenai Peninsula, Cook Inlet, right up, probably the Susitna Valley. This stuff working back to the west, probably hanging up along the mountains there just to the east. And then northward here, again, several disturbances coming down. So that's where we're going to see some low conditions due to that. Patch IFR, eastern Arctic coast, big area IFR here, still along the southwest coast. And again, making some inland headway here, all the way up to Kodiak Island. Sunday afternoon doesn't advance much more inland, but hangs up along the coast. Much of the Yukon Delta here, Nunivak Island, St. Lawrence Island there, right down into across western Bristol Bay, Alaska Peninsula. Kodiak in the IFR, especially on the east side. Good VFR over the interior, all the way up to the Arctic coast, and the Panhandle, mostly VFR. For the passes, Anatuvik and Anigan, another VFR day coming up for the first day of the weekend. And Lake Clark and Merrill, same forecast. Rainy, VFR. Windy, starting out IFR. May only be marginal, but look for an improvement in conditions throughout the entire day, going hopefully VFR later in the afternoon. And for Isabel, same trend, marginal VFR becoming VFR. But Mentasta a little lower, and the more moisture over there with those disturbances affecting the east side. And so northern entrance, IFR possibly, otherwise marginal. And for Tanita, VFR. Portage, VFR. Chilkoot and White, marginal VFR the entire day. Freezing levels here, 4,000 feet, Kodiak Island, maybe up to Seldovia, 2,000 feet, up to possibly Kenai, Soldotna, southern southeast coast, 2,000 feet, and pretty good push of warm air up from the south, 8,000 feet here, right in across Atka, and looks like 4,000 feet there near the Pribilofs, and 2,000 feet just to the north there, but not quite making it to St. Matthew Island. And for icing, areas of rime icing here with isolated areas of considerable moderate rime icing in this shaded area, just again right along Nunivak Island, moving from again southwest to northeast and east, spreading across the Alaska Peninsula, eastern Aleutians, and then probably some icing threats here with the moisture coming southward there with the disturbances over the southeast interior areas as well as the southern Panhandle. Jet stream, ridging right up mostly along the west coast here, another center there right off the Arctic coast on the west side. So we've got pretty good jet blowing between those two centers, coming up and then through at about 100 knots, passing the crest of the ridge and then dropping southward at 140 knots. And at 9,000 feet, we've got pretty strong winds with that system centered out over the western Bering. Looks like 35 to 60 knot winds here associated with that. And then lighter here through the ridge axis. Northerlies, not all that strong, only 15 knots here, 15 to maybe 20 over the interior, some areas lighter, and light winds for the Panhandle, 3,000 feet, same pattern, a little different, but basically low centers mostly in the same place there. Winds light for the Panhandle, interior looking pretty light, 5 to 15, 10 to 15 or so, and then the stronger winds here, 30 to 50 knots out associated with that Bering Sea storm. Turn southerly, 40 knot winds across the Pribilofs up toward St. Lawrence Island. Winds increasing along the southwest coast in the afternoon. Turbulence, possible severe below 4,000 feet there out over the western Aleutians. Otherwise, a lot of moderate chop there from the Aleutians here to the Alaska Peninsula northward, beginning to deteriorate from Nunivak Island on up to St. Lawrence Island.
Welcome to another edition of Alaska Weather Facts. I'm meteorologist Dave Snider with the National Weather Service, and joining us today, two more people to talk about the augmented reality sandbox. It's Alana Valaji. She's a University of Alaska Fairbanks mechanical engineering student, helped design and work on the details to make this new type of sandbox there. Thanks for joining us, Alana.
Thanks.
And Courtney Breest, she's the outreach coordinator for EPSCoR, which is the experimental program to stimulate competitive research. It's a program funded nationally by the National Science Foundation, right?
Yes.
Okay. Alana, tell us about how you changed and adapted this version of the augmented reality sandbox. It's a really cool tool.
So Gina approached us with 3 goals for this new version of the sandbox. They wanted it to be compact in a light system that could travel around the state. They wanted it to be child-oriented, so we designed the sandbox to have 3 different levels.
Okay.
It's pretty cool. You can have younger children, you can have high school kids. I guess I should say high school teenagers.
Sure.
And then we also designed it to be more marketable, user-friendly, so that this could be seen eventually in classrooms all over the place, all over the state.
Okay. And you had a big hand in this, but this was a team approach, right?
Definitely. It was a really good experience for myself, for George Stevens, who we'll see later.
One of our hand models today. Yeah.
For 2 other members who aren't here today, Cody Klingman and Austin Hunt. And it was just a really good learning experience all around.
Very good. And this is something that is part of your learning experience as well, so you get to check a box in your education.
Yeah,
right?
it's a requirement for seniors of mechanical engineering at University of Alaska Fairbanks.
Very good, very good. Well, it is a wonderfully inquisitive tool, fun to play with, and I hope to get my hands in the sand here in just a little bit. But it's also part of a bigger program, something that we were talking about a moment ago, EPSCoR, and that's what Courtney is here to tell us more about. What is EPSCoR and why do you need a sandbox?
Well, EPSCoR, as you mentioned, is a national program. We're funded nationally, but we're actually located statewide. We're at UAF, we're at UAA, we're in Southeast at UAS. And she mentioned, you know, taking the sandbox as an educational tool, and that's where I'm an outreach coordinator for the South Central test case.
Okay.
Our focus is on the Kenai watershed, and we are really interested in using these tools like the sandbox to interact with the students down there and get them interested in STEM and also communicate the research findings that we've been having throughout the state.
Okay. And one of those, as George and Eric are kind of changing the contours for us there from UAF to maybe something that resembles a little bit of something more of the Kenai watershed, which is one of your focuses for the study, right? And specifically looking at some of the changes there and how that impacts people and also the salmon.
Yes, it is all of our research is social and environmental.
Okay.
So we have social scientists working hand in hand with our environmental scientists. One of the things we're studying is Upper Russian Lake, and we have a researcher taking sediment cores from that lake. So one of the things we're going to use the sandbox to communicate is how the landscape changed over a long period of time, thousands of years, going from glacier, covered by glacier ice, to being filled with water. And then
that's what they're doing right now.
Exactly. So
live.
So they're moving the
cool.
water around. And then I think they've got some props over there, because we're also going to go a little bit more in depth and explain how the salmon got there.
Okay.
So using
and there's
these,
the salmon.
Exactly. Oh, I think there's a few more.
Yeah, we like more salmon in Alaska. More salmon.
Yeah, exactly. So it's really taking the findings from our research grant and just trying to connect with the community and translate it in a really hands-on and exciting way, so people can, you know, interact with us as much as possible.
Well, sure. That makes the learning and the science real and quite literally in your face, rather than just some boring black and white paper that you have to read about. This is something that people can understand better because it's visual and they're touching and feeling and seeing these changes, right?
Yeah, and get them engaged. And then outreach is a huge component, and working with the younger students, and actually even, I mean, working with the UAF graduate and engineering students it's a huge part of our grant, and we really enjoy it.
Oh, it is wonderfully exciting. And so, Alana, you were telling us that this is built to travel.
Right.
And this is built to do more things than version 1. Where can this type of project go in Alaska? And what can it demonstrate?
I mean, we were hoping to eventually get to villages that were harder to reach, that you couldn't necessarily move a whole fixed instrument to, right? You need something that can pack up, fit in your truck bed. I mean, one of the most attractive parts of this project is that this was going to be something that was used past our graduation point. You know, this is going to be something that lives in the state for years.
Right, right. Well, it looks like you're well on your way with that. So what are, give me another example. What else can this show us? We've talked about the Kenai River watershed. What's the coolest thing that you've played in the sand with? What's your idea?
Well, I definitely enjoy the props, but we also like kind of building up a giant mound, and if you put some water behind it, you can make a little runway, I guess, and you know, demonstrate the effects of the hydrology by just putting up a dam and letting it all pour right down. And so that could, I think you mentioned it earlier, you could even demonstrate the effects of a tsunami.
Right.
Or something along those lines.
So it's not just topography, but it's also hydrology and coastal surge mapping and some of the coastal changes that we're seeing here in Alaska, and seeing what the smaller changes in the sandbox might do to kind of a real effect of a slosh or a push of water up on the coast. Tsunami inundation mapping, or even glacial dam release, as some has been demonstrated before. So wow, that's just an impressive thing. That it seems like the possibilities are nearly endless with this, and probably even more ideas that are popping up in your head too.
Yeah, as we speak.
Very cool. All right. Well, if folks want to get more information about EPSCoR, you guys are online. You're on Facebook, Twitter, and on YouTube. AKwx, right? EPSCoR, Alaska EPSCoR, that is. And again, you guys are funded by the National Science Foundation, so more to come from that, and a longer-term study there. Thank you, ladies, for joining us today. Congratulations on your hard work there. This is really fun. And for now, I'm meteorologist Dave Snider with this edition of Alaska Weather Facts, and I'm going to go play in the sandbox there. We'll see you next time.
And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Welcome back. Today's sea ice analysis for Friday. Looking something like this, and the forecast is with the southerly winds coming in, expecting the ice to retreat back to the north and northwest with continued melting here through the weekend. So from there, moving on to marine forecast, not too bad wind-wise tomorrow here, pretty light along the coast. Easterly 10 to 15 here from the central coast, south on the south side. Light southerly winds, eastern North Gulf Coast 10 to 15 knots. Lynn Canal south 15, northwest 10. Really a variable wind direction here, 5 to 15 knots over the inside waters with seas running 2 to 4 feet. And then for Sunday, a more northerly component here over the inside waters. Lynn Canal the strongest at 20 knots. 15 knots are Stevens Passage, northwest 15 Clarence Strait, and north up to 20 there on the south coast, but as you can see, as you head up here to the north, you're down to just a very light northerly drift there at 5 knots with 5 to 6 foot seas. And for the Cook Inlet zone, north at 10 tomorrow, seas 2 to 3 feet. Small craft advisory is much stronger here as you get down to Kachemak Bay, west 30 knots, turn northwest across the Barrens, and then back to the light winds here for the North Gulf Coast, 10 to 15 knots out of the south. Variable to northeast at 10 with 2 foot seas, Prince William Sound. And those will become east, light easterlies there for the Sound. It could be variable actually across Prince William Sound, especially in the afternoon. And then Cook Inlet, northern Cook Inlet, north at 10. South of the Forelands, 15 knots. Kachemak Bay, northeast at 15. Barrens now, again, these direction change here, southeast at 15. And 10 knot winds for the North Gulf Coast of those seas, 3 to 4 feet. And for Kodiak Island, westerlies 20 to 25 knots for the day Saturday. Southwest 15, Bristol Bay, 20 knots. Sitkinak to Castle Cape, and Castle Cape on down to Cape Sarachev. It turns southwest, same speed, 20 knots. Seas the same, also at 7 feet. And the windiest area will be on the Bering Sea side of the Alaska Peninsula. Winds will be out of the south at 30 knots with 6 foot seas. Those pick up to gale force on the day Sunday. Minimum gales, seas building to 11 feet there. South 30 knots here on the Pacific side, and then Castle Cape to Sitkinak 20. Pretty light winds, a pretty light wind day for Kodiak there at 10 knots, and Bristol Bay increasing to 25 knots, so small craft advisories there. For the Fox Islands tomorrow, 30 to 40 knot winds here right out of the south. Seas as high as 20 feet on the Pacific side, 30 to 35 knot winds. For the central Aleutians out of the south, and then southwesterlies at 30, increase to 40 knots toward that low center out towards Humianatu. And then for the Sunday outlook, we've got still 40 knots out of the west, far western Aleutians, diminishing to minimum gales as you head east there to Amchitka Island. Central Aleutians, Adak and Atka, west-southwest at 30, and 30 to 35 knots from the west or mostly southwest here across the Fox Islands with seas at about, well, as high as 17 feet, 13 to 17 feet. Southwest coast tomorrow, south of Nunivak Island, almost gale but not quite, but north of Nunivak Island, southeast 35 knots, even stronger for St. Matthew, up to 40 knots, and gales out of the south for the Pribilofs. Outlook for Sunday, southwesterly gales there for the Pribilofs, southerlies 35 for the northern Bering Sea, and the coast here, strongest winds will be north of Nunivak Island at 40 knots, but gales all the way from here, Kuskokwim Bay, right up into St. Lawrence Island. Eastern Beaufort Sea coast, light northwest winds 5 to 10, light variable winds here on the central coast. Easterlies 20 knots on the west side, turn northeast there from Cape Beaufort to Cape Thompson, and then go to the east, south of Cape Thompson at 15. And then an increase here on the Sunday with gale force winds picking up into the Chukchi Sea here. Brisk wind advisories up to Cape Beaufort, and then a drop off here for the west side down to 15. Southeast 15, central coast, light easterly winds at about 10 knots on over to Demarcation Point. And for tonight again, areas of light snow, mostly cloudy skies here, several disturbances, northerly flow dropping southward, somewhat colder air, especially aloft moving in. Mostly clear, light winds here over the south, maybe a little breezy up there in the northwest. Next front, gale force winds, rain pushing into the eastern Aleutians up to the Pribilofs and eastward across the Fox Islands, and decreasing showers and maybe some clearing for the Panhandle. That continues through tomorrow with maybe a few sun breaks, isolated showers, snow showers here possible across the southeast interior northward. Lesser extent, though, as you get to the Arctic coast. Front almost making landfall, slowly advance inland on Sunday with rain and snow, and the strongest winds up here through the Bering Strait. Thanks for joining us.
These forecasts are for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating.